Since starting right now.
All right, so here we go. Welcome to the Give It Up podcast on Urban Media Today. I'm your host, Margo, Hinton. Shout out to our new producer of the day. This is Kiki's in the house. Whammo representing, absolutely. Trevin, wherever you are, we're hoping you're coming in to get in on this conversation. Anyway, our mission at the Give It Up podcast is to inspire you to live on purpose. We talk education, we talk sports, we talk life, we talk community, and we try to integrate all those topics and subject matter to help you live your best life. Give it up meaning celebrate greatness, and give it up meaning provide thought-provoking conversation. Yes, this is the Give It Up podcast on Urban Media Today. And today, we have a very, and I'm going to say it one more time, very special guest. She's a super athlete. She's a D1 baller. That's basketball, y'all. She played at Western Michigan. She's what society calls, at least I say an influencer, but she corrected me before the podcast. She's like, I'm not an influencer, but I beg to differ. She has friends and she influences all aspects of culture. She's a recruiter, that's right, talent acquisition, and she understands what talent looks like, and that's why she's here today to talk about the new NBA. That's going to be our topic. Give it up for none other than Carlita Harris. What's up with you, Carlita?
Nothing. You know, I'm doing it good. Thanks for having me on the podcast. I can't wait to get into the topics, and I'm looking forward to the discussion. I always love to talk about this, especially this particular NBA offseason. This one has been such a roller coaster. I think it's the most entertaining offseason that we've had, and I think it's really an offseason that's bringing us back to how the NBA used to be in so many ways, even though everybody's like, oh, it's new.
Right.
We'll get to that. So thanks for having me on, and I look forward to it with you guys.
And you know what? I forgot to say something, y'all. Because we got a couple Pirate games together. I had to put this out here because I got my cousin here too. We'll get to him in a second. But we hit the Pirates a lot. But Carlita, she's from St. Louis, Larry. I don't know if you knew that.
Yeah, we in her.
And y'all got the same last name, but she's St. Louis in the house representing.
Right, exactly.
So again, welcome Carlita, and I got my cousin here, St. Lawrence Harris, another Harris in the building. What's going on with you? What's good?
Everything's beautiful. Dealing with, summertime, summer camp. We'll just say it's moving, but everything's good though. Always a pleasure to be here.
All right, so like I said before, we're talking about the new NBA. But before we get into that, Carlita, now you try to skip over a little bit. Give everybody a little bit more about your background. Just a little bit about St. Louis, your background, your family, anything, your job. A couple more shout outs to that.
All right, so as far as sports, I'll go there. Grew up in St. Louis. As we know, we're going to have a couple people, when we talk about duos, I think we're going to bring up Jason Tatum today on the Celtics, St. Louis.
Okay.
Represent. So, St. Louis has produced a lot of great sports figures over the years. Went to Western Michigan, played D1 hoops, won the MAC tournament in 2003, went to the NCAA tournament, unfortunately got beat by Stanford at Stanford, but still we had a very successful year, and at least we have a conference ring. That's pretty much all about me. Yes, I'm a St. Louis Cardinals fan, but I do find myself rooting for the Pirates. I actually watched an interesting documentary it was one of the pictures from the Pirates. I don't know if you
Kenta Coffee? I don't know.
It was one of the pictures from the Pirates back in the heyday when Clemente was there.
Okay.
This was way back, but it was really interesting, and I really became a fan of the organization, not the owner, but we'll get to that. A fan of the organization when I found out that Pittsburgh Pirates, they were the first Major League Baseball team to start an all black and brown starting lineup.
Okay, bring the knowledge. I love it.
So shout out to the Pittsburgh Pirates and that whole squad back in the day. Rest in peace to some. Keep trucking to others.
I love it.
They're probably about 80 now.
St. Louis love for Pittsburgh. We love it. So all right, so let's talk about this new NBA. So when you guys hear the term new NBA, Larry, what's that mean to you? What do you think when you hear new NBA?
I'll piggyback off your beginning. I don't see new. This shows how everything comes full circle. Right? Back to the origin of basketball. A lot of the heyday or prime of basketball, 80s, 90s, super athletes always discuss things like, we always wanted to defeat, not join per se, for the competition. right? I think it's really want to show people skill set now. It's easy to stack a team when 8 of my guys can start on any team in the NBA, and you have one guy that shouldn't start on in any NBA team, right? So it's kind of like, okay, what are we really watching? And it's definitely how we discussed several podcasts back as far as parity, right? And how it was coming. It's just funny how not only is it coming, it's completely switched, right? Because it was like, okay, and I think if you go back, for the listeners out there, listen to that podcast we're speaking of, it was like, all right, Golden State's going to win, it's a jury season, this, that, and the third. But it's just so funny, not only did they lose, but that loss completely blew up the NBA to the point where the whole dynamics is restructured. So I'm excited. Very, very excited. Very, very excited.
Carlita, what you got? New NBA.
I mean, I definitely agree with a lot of the points that Larry just said. I also think one of the things that fueled this is ego, which you have like the best athletes in the world, you're always gonna have ego in there. So I think everybody kind of saw like we went through this big three era, and then it just basically came back to dynamic duos, and that's what you're gonna have a lot of. And then even with a dynamic duo, you still have to put a squad around them. I think that the Raptors showed what you can do when you have a bench, when you have a good coach, and okay, they had some injuries they helped them, I think.
Too.
Oh,
No.
yeah.
They had some injuries they helped them,
Unfortunate
but
situations, right?
but they still went and won exactly front office. So I just think that you had a crop of new players that came into the game. They looked up to LeBron James. LeBron, and before him, the Celtics, they really kind of fostered in that big three thing. And I think the Celtics was more organic. I think Miami, they just were like, we're doing it. You know what I mean? So we beat the Celtics. But I think that we definitely have come full circle. And just back to like, you have 2 star players and you have a squad. And let's see what you can do. Like, I think people were just kind of sitting back looking at the NBA like, I don't want to play in these like big 3 teams, and let's go out there and let's play. And again, ego comes into it and see what happens. I want to go against you, not play with you, and it's going to be great for us, the consumer.
Right.
Kevin Durant.
And Kawhi.
I think what also it helps out too is a small marketing, because when you have these camaraderies that are, they're giving out these contracts of 200. You got guys like, no offense, I think it's Tobias Harris, if I'm not mistaken. He's got $165, $170 million, and he wasn't even the first, second, or third option on the team. So it kind of helps out when you go back to that 2 guys with a squad, you spread your money out. At least you give a small market team an opportunity. Because if you don't have that type of capital, you're never ever going to compete, ever. So I think that helps out a lot too.
Okay, so we're gonna get to that dynamic duos question in a moment. But before we break down, we're gonna break down all the what I call dynamic duos in a moment. But before that, talk about some of the differences. You guys think it's similar to back in the day. I'm gonna give you 2 eras: Michael Jordan era,
of course,
LeBron James era.
Okay.
Give me some of the differences in those 2 eras in terms of like style of play, coaching, everything.
The style of play is completely different. You don't even have really a center position, so.
Right.
They eliminate the center.
But I can't say I like what I call him the Joker. Jokic is doing in Denver.
Yes.
I like his game. But to me, the biggest difference between the 2 eras has been the 3-point shot and its importance. I think everybody talk about that to death. And really, the physicality of the game has decreased.
Absolutely.
I don't care where anybody's at.
Absolutely.
Like I watched it, I grew up playing it. The physicality is not there. If you watch a game from, back in the 90s, Charles Oakley and them was putting people on the deck.
That's
Absolutely.
right.
Absolutely.
That's right.
I don't care what nobody say on that. So that's gone, and it's more of a finesse game. So we see a lot of scoring. And that's what the fans want to see, I think.
The athlete itself is developed almost into a hybrid,
That's a good
right?
point.
Whereas you would never see a guy 6'10", Kevin Durant, to be able to handle the basketball, goal to goal, and also can pull up from 35 feet in with no problem, consistently, right?
Crazy.
So it's a whole new dynamic to that. I think it's become more worldly, because when a lot of European basketball players were coming to the league, a lot of their style of play was inherited, right? Like you didn't see, when you see the Dirk Nowitzki, the reason why he was just such a breath of fresh air per se for that position. You've never seen a guy that can go coast to coast, cross over and pull up, and you're like, what was that, right?
Right.
So I think it's the athlete itself, but with the development of the athlete, I think it's lacking some of the basketball player, right? Like you have your LeBrons, you have the Kobe's that have that basketball IQ. A lot of guys don't. Like you ever watch the game, right? To both you ladies, right? And you about 5 minutes, you're like, what is this? I haven't even seen a goal yet. It's run and gun.
Okay.
There's no set plays to pick and roll, things of that sort. So if you look at, say, like a Spurs, prime example, or a Golden State now, when they have more of a basketball-oriented coach about the game and not just, the Houston, hey, just pull up for three, hopefully we make more than you do, but actually running plays and things of that sort. Like I told my son, he was on the AAU basketball team, I said, I guarantee you this series, I love LeBron, we're going to lose. Oh, Dad, I said, no, because you have basketball players versus athletes. They're never going to win. And in my point of view, the best basketball man ever, as far as NBA, which is Popovich, hands down. He's won in every era with different teams. It's not a bunch of superstars. We have 1, 2, develop 3 or 4, and he's going to whoop your butt every time.
Well, I think Popovich is like Belichick in the NFL. He has a system.
Absolutely.
Right. People fit into the system.
Absolutely.
Right. Or you will fit into the system or you're out of there.
Wow. I hate to change the
you're
topic.
right.
I don't want to change the topic. Y'all going at it.
What you gonna do?
But we got to go into the dynamic duos.
All right.
The time goes fast
I
in
know,
this
right?
podcast. Larry will tell you, it's like, boom. You're like, wait, it's not
I got
over
more. I
yet,
got
is it?
more.
So let's talk about the dynamic duos.
Okay.
We'll just say a few words about each of them. We're going to start with my favorite. I talked about it on the last podcast, where I was at the field house when I heard that Anthony Davis was joining LeBron James in LA. And I was like, let's go. Okay, Carlita's not the biggest LeBron fan, so
Okay.
let Carlita go first. And what you think about that dynamic duo in terms of what do you think's gonna happen? How's it gonna work out? Good, bad, and
We
different.
want to scale them
Bring it.
also, maybe like 1 to 5, as far as like how we go through, like, okay, that one.
Yeah,
that
you
work
can
it
do
also?
that.
Okay,
I
cool,
like
cool,
it.
cool.
Yeah,
Okay.
bring all that. Go ahead, Carlita.
Well, I'm discounting Brooklyn because Kevin Durant is hurt.
Okay,
Right.
we'll get to that.
And we know he's not coming back. That's an Achilles tear. He's not coming back. Definitely, I mean, anytime you put Anthony Davis with LeBron James, it's dangerous.
That's true.
On the court. I think that due to LeBron's basketball IQ, as you talked about, if he gets the right pieces around himself and Anthony Davis, I think that is going to be dangerous for sure. I just don't know about the Lakers supporting cast and bench.
Right.
Really, the team that I'm watching to see how they gel is Paul George and Kawhi Leonard.
They're the third. They're third on our list.
Okay.
We'll get there.
Okay, so
Well, go
right
ahead,
now,
do it now.
you
Do
want me
it
to talk
now.
about just the Lakers?
No, do it now.
Okay,
We'll
I
jump-
can talk
we
about
can
just the
jump
Lakers,
around.
let Larry go on the Lakers. So I say that, of course, it's going to be interesting, but I want to see how this team can mesh. I think that they have a lot more meshing to do because, again, basketball is a team sport. I think people lose sight of that all the time. All you do is talk about these top 2 players. I'm like, didn't you just see what the Toronto Raptors did? They just whoop people because they ain't played as a team. You had Van Fleet out there going out there.
Leadership and
Siakam.
teamwork
Exactly.
carries the
Leadership.
day.
Everybody knowing their position in basketball and playing their role is also utterly important. I cannot stress the importance of that. And that's how we won because everybody knew their role.
Look
And
at
it
the
was
Celtics last year. Kyrie.
Absolutely.
You got it.
disruptor. But I think that with the Lakers, I'm looking for how is the team going to gel.
Okay.
What about you?
Absolutely, I totally agree with that point. I'm 1,000% because experience also, right? When we're talking about that, you guys have got, for example, off subject but on, as far as like say a Peyton Manning with Marvin Harrison. They said I didn't have to know the play. He would give me a look, I'd give him a look, and I know where to go. So
Right.
that outweighs a lot. But when you have LeBron, which I always said, should this be the point guard because he has the ball 80% of the time, which is not a bad thing, right? He makes good decisions. But so if you put him with just the athleticism, they have 2 good outside shooters. They can get like 1 or 2 more, I would say.
Who are their outside shooters?
Well, they have got the guy from Toronto.
Danny Green.
Yeah, Danny Green. Shoots 40
Oh, yeah.
plus arc.
Danny Green.
Can't
Right.
count them out.
And
All right.
You
Kuzma.
got him, and you got Kuzma, and also they got another guy, Avery Bradley,
Oh,
who's
yeah,
not
that's
a bad
right.
outside shooter. But then this is just besides LeBron, and don't forget, AD
Cousins
shoots
is
about
there.
high
But
30s
that's what I wanna
behind
see.
the line.
Cousins.
Cousins, who also has developed, so
And AD and Cousins played together. They had some hell of a pick and rolls. But,
Absolutely.
I'm just realizing they're reunited.
well,
But I'm saying with
but don't
LeBron
forget
in the mix,
Rondo.
it's different.
Don't
And
forget
they were
Rondo.
killing when he tore his
Right.
Achilles.
Don't forget Rondo. That was their big three.
Oh, I'm getting more
Rondo,
excited by the moment
Right.
now, y'all.
Rondo, Anthony Davis, and Booker get back together, right? And that was the first time in years that they took that
The
team.
new Lakers.
So yeah, I would give it, and as far as I'll just do my ranking rule, I say 5. You can't put them 2 together and give them less, in my opinion,
Okay.
right? Those
What's
are the
his 5
2
out of?
1 out of 5.
Why
You
not?
want to go 10? I'll say 10.
Okay,
You
1
say
to
100, I'll
5.
say 100.
I like that.
Another
I mean,
Laker.
I like
well,
that.
I just like LeBron for what he's done for the game and outside the game as
Right.
a role model, right? Because we were getting to the point whereas I'm an athlete, I can do whatever I want, and whatever. But it's actually somebody brings something to the game,
More
right?
to the table.
Than just an athlete, you know. And handles
I love
his, you know, business.
I'm not LeBron's biggest fan, but I will say I always applaud him off
Mm-hmm.
the court.
Right.
Sometimes on the court he can work my last nerves because I just want him to be more aggressive. But he has to be who he is and play within himself. So
Absolutely.
I'm not a LeBron hater though. I'm just not a
Absolutely.
LeBron
Right.
fan. I'm not
Right.
wearing a jersey out.
I know. Don't burn
I'm
no
putting a
jersey.
jersey on.
So I like what you said before. We're gonna skip Kyrie and Kevin because that's down the road,
Right.
and let's go to the new news that I got, which I am more than over the moon about. Okay, James Harden and Russell Westbrook. What y'all think about that?
I don't even know. I'm gonna let Larry go first.
Well,
That's gonna come down to some real egos right
and it
there.
comes to the
Stop
same
it.
thing.
They want to
It's the-
win, people. They want to win.
It's the same thing. I mean, you got two hybrids. I mean,
Woo.
I can honestly say, which most people I've heard, radio, television, whatever, that Russell Westbrook is probably the best athlete, top 10 of any sport I've ever seen in my life, right? Just as far as athleticism.
He's a monster.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, the only thing that could stop them is who's going to be, for example, when LeBron came to Miami, there was a big thing, who's going to be the guy? Dwayne Wade was like, look, I'm just going to step back, let you do you,
And that's
I'm
how
gonna
they
help
won.
you. And that's how they won, because it wasn't that ego on the court. So not saying these two guys have an ego, but you're talking about to be that good, you must have been that good since as long as you've been playing basketball, right?
Right.
So it's kind of hard to take that back seat. And the reason why Harden left, he didn't want to be the sixth man no more. And it was only about $4 million, if I'm not mistaken. Not a year.
Yeah, but I thought it was Oklahoma didn't want to pay him.
$4 million.
But let me jump in on this one
Mhm.
in terms of who's going to take a back seat.
Okay.
Let's think about, because people don't remember the evolution of Russell Westbrook's game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's evolved even over the last 2 or 3 years. He's already proved with Paul George that he's willing to take a
Agreed.
lesser role. So
Mhm.
I feel like, and he wants to win. That's why he's now in Houston. So I think it's not that. I think that's not going to be the issue. I think it's going to be what you said about the Lakers in terms of the other pieces and are they going to fit and can they make that next jump to the next level. That's what I think.
Is that the jump? Because you figure 2 years
They were
ago,
already there.
they had
That's true.
Golden
They
State beat.
They're there.
Chris Paul gets hurt.
True.
So obviously, I'm pretty sure all three of us can
I don't know,
agree
with
it's definitely an upgrade.
With
As
Westbrook
far
down
as
there, I
overall.
mean, you have to look at the other pieces on the Rockets too, though.
Yeah.
How's he going to fit with the? Oh, come on, what's my man's name? Made all the 3-pointers. I love not is it PJ Tucker, and then he also
PJ
has
Tucker,
it's
yeah.
PJ Tucker, and then
Okay.
who was the other guy?
Oh,
they have? Who was the other guy they
I
have?
can't think
He
of
was
his
the
name
name
right now.
42,
Eric
dark-skinned.
Eric
Watson. Is it
Gordon
Watson?
or something.
Gordon.
Yeah,
Eric
yeah,
Gordon.
yeah.
That's
Okay.
it.
So how was that? I mean, because Eric Gordon, he's used to taking a certain amount of shots, a certain amount of points. I think he averaged like almost 20-something points or all.
Yeah,
That's
he
true.
plays out.
Everybody
Also,
gonna have to adjust because they
Right.
lost 2 straight
But
years when they should have been winning.
The great part about it is being as though he's so aggressive to the rim, to draw the double and dish, so that does leave a lot of guys open because he draws a lot of attention. A lot of attention. Russell Westbrook down there. You know what I
One
mean?
thing with
So-
these duos, all I can say is this: it all depends on personalities and fit. I cannot stress that
Yes.
enough. You know, we all
Gelling.
play team sports. If people gel, the ones that you think will rise to the top will not,
Hmm.
and then you'll definitely have some sleepers that's gonna come out, all due to like how they worked out and camped together and gelled as a team.
Absolutely.
So we'll have to see. I think it's gonna be entertaining.
Absolutely, yeah.
All right, I hate to rush to a close. I didn't get the 5-minute sign yet, so I know we have a little bit of time. And I know, Carlita, you have to come back on the podcast again to really cover this topic. But let's talk about ownership.
Okay.
All right, because the new NBA, it seems like the owners are really important in the new NBA. And I'm just going to run down some of the owners for people out there that are not familiar. So you have Jeannie Buss with LA. You got Mark Cuban at Dallas. These are famous ones. Joe Lacob, we really don't, that's Golden State's owner, which I really didn't even know his name.
Right.
Mickey Arison at Miami, I've heard his name, that name before. And you also have James Dolan, who I think is the most infamous owner with the Knicks, right?
Oh my God, they need to get him up out of there. They need to throw like riots down there by the garden and get him up out of there. I mean, when he kicked Charles Oakley out, I was like, this dude
Yes.
is taking it to another level.
That's basically disrespecting the game.
Yeah.
When you kick out one of the best players you've ever had out of your arena, that's the issue.
He needs to be up out of there.
And then the other owner I want to talk about really quickly from back in the day who got fired and ousted, Donald Sterling.
Okay.
So they got a new owner at the Clippers, Steve Ballmer. So that whole situation was just
Ballin' Bomber.
Yes, exactly.
He
So-
has the most money
oh,
of any owner in the NBA.
I had no
The
idea.
Microsoft disciple.
Oh yeah. Enough said, right?
Wow.
So he can, if he really want to win and he see that they have a chance, I think he'll come up out of those coffers and go get it.
Now speaking of
Under
owners,
the
the
roof.
terminology owners, right?
Okay.
I don't know if you guys heard about this, and I don't know if you've seen it, but Draymond Green was on LeBron James's program called The Shop.
Okay.
And so he talked about where he didn't believe that they should be called owners in the first place, how that was too much of a correlation to slavery. So there's a lot of teams now that are trying to back away from the concept of ownership, and they came up with some different names, one managing partners, board of directors, just board of governors, different names. So what do you think about the correlation between calling the owners and calling them something else just because of the relationship between slavery and most of the players are black?
Definitely makes sense, and I think something like that really was showed in the NFL. As far as like the NBA is more liberal per se, right? As far as injustices socially, things of that sort, where the players are allowed to speak their mind and voice their opinions. Whereas the NFL kind of like shuts you down, shut up and dribble, as one woman said.
Exactly.
So it's definitely has a correlation, because the powerful thing about words is the definition to a word, right? It has a meaning. So when you're using these words and this verbiage, it has a meaning that you attract yourself to. Like the N word has been out of my vocabulary since '98. It's not allowed in my household, my summer camp. No one can call me that, because there's a correlation to that as far as being subhuman, right? And once you agree and answer to something, you've actually taken power to that thing, right? Or given power to it to be, something of one. So as you're saying, as far as ownership, you know what I mean? It's a whole different type of thing, because as you just mentioned, as far as the example, when you put ownership, slavery, things of that sort, it's very touchy subjects, and it's very commendable for even the managing partners, right? We're trying to change our verbiage too.
Right.
To even take something like that, like, hey, I can listen to that. I can never, ever, ever, ever see the NFL even dealing with it, let alone switching.
Approach the subject.
Well, I do agree. I'm going to play devil's advocate for a minute. While I agree with many of your points, at the end of the day, if I own something, I own it. We live in a capitalist society. Like, I think that the connotation of that is only like that whole correlation is because you have a mostly black or African American league.
Right.
If that didn't exist, let's just say that it was a bunch of white players. I don't even think the
No way
topic
would think about it.
would come up, but again, I do understand, but I just want to throw that out there too. Like, I don't know. I mean, I think that not Donald Sterling, but I think most of the ownership group across the NBA has shown that they are
Respect their players.
they respect their players.
Right.
It's still a product at the end of the day, and I think that once you come into the NBA, you do sign up for that. So you're always going to have a boss and owner.
And I think,
Across
but for
in
the
the
way
league.
that the NFL handles their approach to the players,
Yeah.
we wouldn't even be talking about this. And I think the NBA is just trying to be a role model
Well, they
for
definitely
the
are.
other league to say, hey, you know what? The way that you're handling your business is not necessarily the
And
right way to
then,
handle business.
where did this old money come from? We can trace it back, then we can get even more in depth.
Oh
to
yeah,
it,
that's
right?
like a whole conversation.
Industrial revolution, we came from slavery. We all know that. It built the country, free labor. I mean, we couldn't come up off of that. So when you go a little bit further back, we're talking about these people 80, 90 years old. One more generation back, we're talking slavery, right? So depending on how you want to look at it, as far as like Donald Trump or 45 or that orange guy, as we all call him. Same thing, one generation back, it was his grandfather, it was a slave owner, right? Where did your money come from?
You have to trace each owner's lineage and where they amassed their dollars from. Though.
How they accumulate.
Because like Ballmer with the Clippers, he's Microsoft. Has
The
nothing-
original idea, right?
Right. So I mean, you'd have to look at that.
Yeah, I'm just as you said, blunt devil's advocate type thing.
But yeah,
So,
definitely the NFL has some work to do, and that could be a whole nother topic.
Yeah, that's
society, right?
That's a whole other show, y'all. We just did 2 or 3 shows in one. That's funny. Okay, so now we talked about ownership a little bit. We talked about the players. We talked about dynamic duos. This year, to me, one of the real outstanding things that has happened, I don't know if you guys know about this, but Swing Cash former McKeesport High School,
Yeah.
All-American high school player, All-American
Olympian too, right?
UConn Huskies player, as well as WNBA All-Star several times. She has become the Vice President of Basketball Operations for the New Orleans Pelicans.
What?
The first female. Oh, I'm breaking news. The first
I didn't know
female, yes, from Pittsburgh.
Shout out.
I know her, seen her play. I'd high five her if I
major.
saw her.
That's major.
And actual Dr. Jamil Bey, who was on our program last episode,
Okay.
he talked about, he just saw her recently, and he was one of her teachers when she was in high school. But anyway, yeah, she's the vice president of basketball operations for the Pelicans under David Griffin, who used to be with LeBron at Cleveland, who's now also with Zion with the New Orleans Pelicans. So I just wanted to shout that out.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. That's huge.
And say,
Historically
yeah,
huge.
that's really historical. Just like, first of anything is big. Whether it's first black, first female, first anything is big. So this is huge.
It brings a lot of diversity, and I hope it's something that the Pelicans actually capitalize on, is having that voice in the room. And I hope that they don't kind of hand strap her from, even the powers above.
Exactly.
It's not like I'm placing her, but let her do her thing. Bring some
Right.
ideas.
Even
to the table.
hopefully filter into the WNBA. I think it's the most grossly underpaid athletes in the world.
Don't even
but,
get me started. We need to do a topic on why they have professional leagues over in EMEA, and even certain countries where traditionally they might have had kind of what we would call backwards thoughts on women, but they support the women's athlete over in other countries, even in the Middle East. Why do they not have that here? Why won't they go out and support those the WNBA or women's professional sports? I think soccer
Soccer's
has
fighting that
league
battle right
program
now.
and things like that. But they support the college game, so we need to explore that one.
All right, that's a new topic. So we gotta hurry to a close, you guys. And so at the end of every podcast, I do a couple things. The first is take your pick. And so since we're talking about the new NBA, we're gonna give you a take your pick versus old school versus new school.
Okay.
All right. So you can just say either one, and we'll keep it short if you have something to say. A couple sentences after that. So first one is Bad Boys Detroit Pistons, or not really Bad Boys, but I'll say Bad Boys because Draymond Green's on the team. Golden State Warriors. Which team would you prefer?
I have one question. What rules are we playing? Their rules or now rules?
Whatever rules you want, Larry.
Old school rules, the bad boys.
You want the Bad Boys. You got the
Absolutely.
Pistons. Who you got, Carlita?
If it's old school rules, I'm going with the Bad Boys too, because I think they'll intimidate
They can take a punch.
I think they'll intimidate the Golden State
I'm
Warriors
yeah.
straight up and back.
Some of
Even
the first ones
Draymond
they
Green
can do
think
that,
twice. Some of them.
I
You gotta
was
think about
wondering-
who was on that team.
The microwave. I was a microwave fan back then.
James Edwards. Isaiah Thomas. They're about
Come
8,
on.
9 deep. Yeah.
Look, the Bad Boys made Jordan get into the weight room.
Boom.
So what
That's
you
right.
think
And
they
kept
would
the
do with like
championship out of Jordan's hands.
Absolutely.
Steph Curry and
Absolutely.
Klay Thompson? No,
All right,
no
so
shade
I
to them.
got another one for y'all. And you mentioned it earlier. Larry Bird or Nikola Jokic from the Nuggets. You mentioned it earlier. They got similar games. That people make that comparison now.
Can I go first? Larry the Legend.
All right, who you got, Carlita?
I don't think you can compare Jokic to Larry. Larry was a little bit more mobile. He was more guard like
Okay. All right.
Jokic is
Okay.
a big boy.
Hey, Larry. I don't know why I even put this one out here, but I'm still throwing it out there. Kevin Durant
Okay.
or Kevin Garnett? I got
Kevin
Kevin
Durant.
Garnett. I
Kevin
got
Durant.
Kevin
I
Garnett.
already
And
knew
you
your
are
answer because
smoking.
that was your favorite player for about
Right.
5, 10 seasons.
Give me number 5.
Absolutely.
Garnett.
Man,
Give me Kevin Durant.
doesn't miss. It's hard to.
Man, come on.
I'm
give me
talking
Kevin
about the
Durant.
mentality though.
Okay.
I'm going with the mental.
Right.
But hey, everybody says this, but Kevin Durant on the court, he shows up when
He
the clutch.
shows up. He
absolutely.
shows up.
Off the
All
court
right,
is where
last
his
but not
mental stuff
least.
is.
I don't even want to go
We
there,
gotta
but
do
last but not
Jordan.
least, and you can only say one word because we ran out of time. Mike or LeBron?
Mike, bye.
Who you got, Larry?
How do you
Who you
never
got,
think
Larry?
about this?
I don't like Michael Jordan as a person, but he is the man. I had to see some more highlights. I'm gonna say Jordan.
All right, I'm not even gonna answer. I'm saying it's
I
a
know,
tie.
right?
This is it, you guys. I like to leave the audience with something special at the end. So the last thing I'm gonna give you is 5 points. We're gonna close it out. How to embrace change. Number 1, accept the idea of change. Number 2, think about how the difference will affect your life. Also, think about the good things that occur through change. Learn to see things from a different perspective. And last but not least, know that embracing change nurtures your personal growth. This has been the Give It Up podcast on Urban Media Today. Thank you to all of our guests, Carlita Harris, my cousin Larry Harris, Trevin, as always, in your absence, Kiki standing in, doing a great job, and Mr. Alan Lincoln. Thank you. Give it up and be blessed. Nice job, you guys.
I have to think about LeBron and Michael Jordan.
Cut like
Because what?
I don't like Michael Jordan like as a
But see, that's
person,
not on the court. They don't have anything to do like Kevin Durant. His mental, he clutch on the court.
Mhm.
So I'm sorry, dude. Kevin Durant and Kevin Garnett used to